Welcome to the last part of the Frog Manual Glockfest edition. We already did the VFC, we did the WE, and now we will do the TM. So Frog already knows which gun comes next. Of course, all of them nice pistols. Also WE. And now let's go for TM. Basically the guide for TM practically is like identical to the guide for WE, but for the sake of completeness I will record it separately. Maybe you are not so interested in WE if you own a TM, for example. There will be just very tiny differences. So the first thing we will do is looking into the content of the conversion. So here you see what comes with the conversion. This is the conversion itself. Actually, you know, there are lots of models of the Glock, right? So here I am converting TM Glock 26, and actually this is like my personal gun. It has aluminum slide and steel barrel. It doesn't change anything for the assembly itself, just, you know, to brag about it. But what I want to say is that depending on the type of the Glock, you can have different hose lengths because of the pistol grip length. So here I have a pre-cut length for the Glock 26, but if you are ordering the conversion you might ask for a different length of hose and we will prepare it for you. Or you can just order a long hose and basically you can install it yourself, cut it to the length you would like to have, yeah? So just a disclaimer. And another thing regarding the conversion is that this is identical, same conversion for all VFC, WE and the TM. And the only difference is in the gasket or the seal on the top that we will be using, because for TM we don't have the top gasket, we don't have the valve, we need to replace them from original magazine, which we'll look into in a moment. Apart from the conversion, you get this orange drilling help for finding the proper position for attachment holes. You will understand in a moment how it works. There will be 2 steel pins, a piece of black rope, and speed loader, the latest version. Right now the latest version is 2.4. It can change in the future, and there is the spare main wheel for the speed loader, so it always comes as a pair. And there are 3 magazines. I show only one here not to occupy too much place on the screen, but there will be 3. And the type of the magazine depends on the Glock for which you want to mount the conversion. Of course I have here the Glock 26, so I have very short 12 round magazine for it, but there are different types of magazines available depending on the particular Glock type. And I did not mention it in previous Frog manuals for the Glocks, but all magazines for all pistols, they come with spare feeding lip just in case. So with 3 magazines you would get 3 of those, right? Okay, so that's it. The assembly will be very quick. We will start with conversion preparation. So let's get into it. So for this step you will need your original magazine, and you will replace the main valve and the top gasket into the conversion. If you like to purchase some aftermarket parts, all TM compatible parts will be fine for the conversion too. Okay? Of course, we will need those 2 pins, the conversion itself, and some kind of a frog. First step is to make sure that the magazine is empty. I can push the valve because it's empty and no gas is released, but I don't recommend you do it this way. Actually, I press it because I know it's empty, but if it would be full of gas, it could burst out and burn my hand. So the best, if you have a magazine with the gas, is to release it by shooting it out, or just press it with some tool and release it to the atmosphere, and then you will do it safely. I'll start with the valve. This is pretty simple. I'm using the tool for the valve removal and just unscrew it completely. If this is a used mag, you see how much is scratched. It's a good practice to always clean it and so on, you know? Okay, and the valve came out, and this is how it looks like. It should have 3 O-rings on it, 1 here on the moving part and 2 on this brass part. If something's missing, maybe it stayed inside. And here, extremely simply, we just drop it into the conversion, and now we rotate it counterclockwise, pushing it in until we will feel in our hands that the threads catch, yeah, like they jump one on the other. and then we can start to thread it in clockwise all the way till the end. Make sure it's secure, it's tight. And now for the gasket, we will need to remove this pin here. Okay, should come out pretty easily. Then we can remove the cap, and the seal usually is retained in the cap, so I can push it out and it's free. And the magazine in general is not needed for anything, so I can just put it aside. The pin is also not needed. And one important thing regarding the seal or the gasket is that you might be using some different brand of magazines for your TM, right? And it's fine. The valve from WE will fit, and actually the VFC valve also will fit. It's universal conversion. However, this seal is different. This seal has this rounded shape on the top. In WE it's flat, so if you use WE shape it won't work. Yeah? It will not seal properly, and VFC seal, for example, is longer on the bottom. So really make sure that the seal you are using is the TM standard. And then you can take out the cap. It will be pushed into the top of the conversion. It fits pretty tightly, yeah? So you need to pull it out, and then you can put in the seal. There is only one orientation it can go. It should come out on the top, like a lot of it, and on the bottom it's practically flat with the plastic part. Okay, and now what you will need to do is to press it into the conversion. You can recognize the final position because these holes will align with the holes on the plastic part, and it should be flush on the top, the plastic against the aluminum. This is how it looks when pushed all the way in. You see some light goes through the holes. And now pin it with these two pins. You can either like punch them in or just squeeze them in. I prefer to just squeeze them in. I'll show you how I do it. Like the order makes no difference. I'll just take it like this, and you see it goes in. And obviously it has to be completely hidden, flat with the surface. Very simple, very nice. And the same for the second one. Just make sure between pushing them in that they did not change the position. Okay. This way the conversion is ready. You can actually connect it to the pressure if your hose is here, and check the tightness, but it should be fine. Now we can go back to our pistol, and here we will be working only on the frame and internal parts in the rear. So the slide can go out, you can remove it, put it aside, and you do it like I did. You know, you've seen I pulled on this lever from both sides at once, and the slide, you know, goes forward and it's released. And now we need to remove that rear chassis here, and for this there is a screw in this corner, and there is a pin here on the rear. So those parts are out. Now I can pull out this chassis, as I said, and here be careful on this side because this valve knocker retainer part on a spring here can jump out the spring too. So you kind of need to be careful. And here it's connected with this lever, so you need to disconnect it. The easiest way is just to rotate it a lot to the rear, and it will come out. You see my spring ran out. Okay, I have that lever, nothing is lost. And now we will remove some more parts. We basically need this whole chassis clean and ready for drilling. So there's one pin here on the bottom which we just push out, and here the parts will be released. Okay, you can do it on released hammer, it's a bit easier. And then there is the second pin here, and this pin has to go this way because it has different diameter on the end. And now I can take out the hammer and the valve knocker, and the chassis is basically empty. So let's clean it, let's remove all the grease and stuff, and now we will focus on this part modification. This step will be kind of identical to the other Glock videos. So here we have the plate with the marking that it's for TM, and we will put it against this chassis here so that the edges match on this side and this side wall also is on touch, yeah, so like this. We need to do 2.5mm diameter hole in these two locations. They should be in the middle here, you know, there is a split line in the middle, but it's not really visible where it is exactly. You don't need to measure anything or, you know, think where this hole has to be. It has to be directly here. So either you can drill through the plastic, or you can use a tool to like punch some detention in those two points and then drill through. I prefer the punching method, so here I have two indentations like I said, and I can go with the drilling right now. And what I usually like to do is to go with a smaller drill first. This will be 2mm, because if something goes wrong, maybe gets misaligned or whatever, you can still fix it by drilling the bigger hole a little offsetted, yeah? So I'll start with the 2mm. So 2mm holes. You can always put this back on and cross-check the position, and now enlarge it to the 2.5. And now from the rear side, we will use the screws here. So these are like conical head screws, right? So you will need to make the space, because those conical heads have to hide in this chassis, don't stick out, you know, to the rear. So you will need to do like a countersink shape, and I'll do it with 5mm drill. But here you have to be careful not to drill through, yeah? So very slowly drill just enough so that the head of the screw can hide within that hole. And it's ready. So now I can, of course, clean everything up, make sure that there are no debris, in that chassis, and we can put in both screws. Like this, the heads are well hidden, and then attach the conversion, screwing it from the rear. And yeah, we are done. Of course, it's good to secure the screws with some Loctite on the thread, because otherwise it can, release the conversion when you shoot, and it can be hard to disassemble it if the screws jam with the trigger mechanism. And also, don't pay attention how the top surface is aligned here, because in different conversions it was important to have it on 0, right, in the high kappa or in the zig, but here it's not important at all. It should be like the drill plate shows you. So just trust the drill plate. Now I will guide you through the process of the reassembly of this chassis here, to make sure you know how to put the parts back. And for this reason I have everything here completely disassembled, right? So first you will take the hammer, and from this side with this long rib you will drop in the roller, and we will put in also the spring. That's the main hammer spring, and it has two tips, one is the short, one is the long. So you want to put it like this, short tip towards the roller, and it has to be on the bottom side. It goes in here. And when I have it done, I will take that pin with this bigger head, and now I will push in the hammer into the chassis, and at the same time I need to catch it with this pin. So how the hammer will go in is like this orientation, and you can see here some scratch marks after the spring, because when I put it, the spring goes here, right? And now I need to push the hammer into position so that I can catch it with that pin. So I have it like this, and the pin only holds the hammer on this side. It doesn't go through, because now I will have to take the valve knocker, which is this part, and in this orientation squeeze it under the hammer so that it sits in that gap between two sides of that hammer. If you cock the hammer, right, it will be easy to push it in, and then you should be able to catch it with the same pin, like I do. And basically, you need to push the pin all the way to the other side. It's all about the alignment. If the alignment is correct, it will be quite easy. Okay, next step is this arm here, and this arm will go in like this. And it has a kind of ledge here, which is important, because then there will be the spring on the same pin, and the tip, which is not bended, has to rest on that ledge. So first I can drop in this arm, and it has to go into the frame like this. Okay, so it's hidden in the frame, and I can already catch it with the pin in place so that it doesn't move so much. The spin will be very loose, and then I will drop in that spring, as I said, with this tip that is straight facing up. Okay, like this, and I can catch it with that pin and it's ready. And now what I just need to do is to take that tip of the spring and hook it on the valve knocker, which might be a little tricky because the valve knocker is deep there. So a simple trick, you take a screwdriver, you pull on the hammer to the rear, and then you can squeeze the screwdriver here to lift the valve knocker. You see it went up, I hope you can see it, yeah? And I can just hook the spring on it and leave it this way. This is not so difficult. And then the last part is this one, the valve knocker reset. So we put it here and the spring goes under it. The spring tends to escape, so be very careful not to have it jump out or not to lose it, and just hold it in place with your hand, and we have this reassembled. Now what we will do, put this back into the gun, and here we go the opposite way to what we did to remove it. So we will need to lift it like this, squeeze it in here, wiggle it a bit, okay, and it should jump in place, of course still holding this valve knocker reset lever, and you should be able to position it where it has to be. Then you can attach it with the screw. I suggest use some glue for that screw, but it goes into plastic, right? So Loctite probably won't help much, just regular super glue. And the last thing, the pin goes back, and we are done. Now I can put back the slide. It should go very easily. You can test how smooth it works. Okay, so at this stage you might want to try how the gun works. So we can connect the pressure. However, to connect the pressure, always do it on a slide lock to the rear. Then you have the guarantee that the valve inside conversion is not pressed in, because the hammer is cocked. If this valve would be pressed in, then the air would travel into the cylinder and the gun would automatically shoot. So I'm sure my chamber is empty, my slide is locked to the rear, I can connect the pressure, listen for some hissing sound, if not, everything's fine, yeah? And we can take a couple shots. We can lift the lever for the slide lock to see if it works. Everything's fine. Now to finalize, we will use this black piece of rope to attach the hose here to the rear of the pistol grip, and I'm gonna do the same method I did in the VFC and WE. The VFC actually had a nice hole for the lanyard, so I just attached it through this hole. In WE that hole was missing, so I drilled one and attached it the same way. So here also nothing's there, I will drill a hole. You know, this is so low profile that with my hand here I won't feel it at all. But one important thing is that when positioning the hose, I don't want it to go too much back, this case, because I don't want to have it like this in my palm, right? So I will just pull it back slightly. This is a very short pistol grip. In the VFC, you see I went pretty far to the back because this is Glock 17, and here it lives under my hand, so no issue. And the same in WE, yeah, the long grip makes the hose exit far away from my palm. So first, drilling the hole in the plastic, that's simple, I'll do like 4 millimeters. Here I have it, I deliberately went away from the edge so that there is some plastic, you know, it's not so easy to break. And now, special trick, we take the super glue, it's prepared to use, and we take the piece of rope, we put it through the hole. Okay, the loop goes over the hose, we pull it back, and it's important that we pull it back on the spring part, yeah, not on the bare hose, because if you pull it on the bare hose it will break sooner or later, the hose I mean. Here on the spring it's safe, so if you are making the length of the hose by yourself, make sure that, you know, this retention will be against this spring protected part. And then I do the second loop here, and here is the trick. So I prepare it to tie a knot, right? I pull it back right now, and as I said, I don't want to go too far, because just enough so that it won't disturb with magazine insertion. Then I need to hold it and apply some glue onto that line, and it will solidify immediately, holding it in place. And then I can tighten it to a full knot, okay, and apply the glue again, and this way I'm done. I can cut off the excess here, and that's it, yeah. Now I can take the magazine, try it, yeah, you see it fits quite nicely. There is some distance here, it should not disturb insertion of the magazine. If I take it to shoot, like I touch a bit to this hose, maybe later, you know, it will bend away anyway. Let's leave it like this for the moment. I think this is just fine. So the last thing to do now that we can insert the mag easily, we can connect the pressure again. Of course, make sure that the gun is empty. Let's see how the slide lock works with the magazine. And you see it works perfectly. So the gun is ready. It was converted, nice Glock from TM. Nothing especially new compared to WE, a little less complicated than the VFC. I hope you liked the video. This is the last frog manual for the Glock conversions. We did all 3 manufacturers. So whichever manufacturer you prefer, you can now use your Glock on HPA with your Frog Engineering conversion, magazines for all the types of Glocks. Everything's ready, everything's released and available for purchase. For now, thank you so much. Let me know what you think as always. Hit the notification bell, all these nice things. I appreciate a lot your support. And may the power of GBB pistol from TM be with you.